Remember when you went to see Avengers Endgame for the first time, and when they revealed that Captain America was the one holding Thor's hammer? Everyone flipped out. Everyone was screaming and clapping, except me. I was thinking, wait a second, how can he do that? I remembered how 4 years earlier, I had sat and watched Age of Ultron. All the Avengers tried to lift Mjolnir, but no one was able to. And afterwards, everyone went to their friends like, did you see how Cap made the hammer budge? And I said, of course they did. It was obvious. It's not like they tried to hide it. But after seeing Endgame, I started to think about that moment again. What was the difference between Cap during Age of Ultron than Endgame? Why did he fail to lift it then but succeeded later? I decided it was time to launch an investigation. The first thing I had to do was watch all the movies involving Captain America or Thor's hammer. For purely investigative purposes, of course. So I watched all of them. All 3 Thor movies, all 3 Captain America movies, and all 3 Avengers films. Now I needed a direction. I thought it's best to start by examining the question, what makes one worthy to lift Thor's hammer? Mjolnir's first appearance was in the first Thor film from 2011. In it, Thor wields the hammer until he goes against his father, Odin's order, and endangers all of Asgard. As a result, Odin strips Thor of his powers and deems him unworthy to lift the hammer. He even describes the virtues required by one in order to wield the hammer. Responsibility, duty, honor. Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. In the end of the film, Thor proves himself worthy of Mjolnir by sacrificing himself to save others, showing bravery, selflessness, and honor, the traits he had to find within himself to earn worthiness. Those are all traits Cap could definitely possess, but it's not so easy. Now we have to look at Cap's first real interaction with lifting the hammer, the previously mentioned party scene from Age of Ultron. In this scene, the Avengers all try to lift the hammer, but all fail due to being not worthy. Only Cap manages to move the hammer a tiny bit, causing Thor to look worried and surprised before he gives up. So I had all the information, but the question was still unanswered. Well, my first theory, tied to another one of the movies I watched, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, there's a point of the party scene, which Cap already knew that his former best friend, Bucky, brainwashed by Hydra, had been responsible for the deaths of Tony Stark's parents. But Cap withheld that information in order to protect Bucky, meaning this lie or secret was the one roadblock on his way to worthiness. During the next film, Civil War, when Tony finds out what Cap had been hiding from him, Cap owns up and confesses his mistake. That's a big step, and perhaps one that led him to being considered entirely worthy leading up to the events of Endgame. I was quite happy with my theory, so I posted it online. That was that. I'd finally cracked the case. Or so I thought. It wasn't long before somebody tried to call my theory's integrity into question. I had been trying to sleep, having barely slept during my research before. I was rudely interrupted by a woman walking into my office. It looked to me like she was out of her mind. I mean, there's a difference between being a big fan and covering yourself with it. She swung open the door and she said, "Hi, I'm Lilith. I read your theory about Cap and Mjolnir, and I just have to say, it makes no sense." Oh, yeah? And why's that? I mean, duh. Mjolnir doesn't measure perfection, dum-dum. Just because Cap did one little sin and really meant well with it shouldn't make him unworthy of the hammer. Is Thor perfect? Well, besides from his face and abs. No! He has lots of flaws, but that doesn't stop him from being considered worthy. Another thing, buddy, if Cap was genuinely worthy at the time, why'd Mjolnir move at all? Is there such a thing as being have-worthy? Did Mjolnir think he was worthy and then suddenly change its mind? All right, I get it. So how do you think Cap lifted Mjolnir? Oh, I don't know. I just saw that your theory's wrong. You know, if you want, I can help you. Basically, I know all the movies by heart. No, I work alone. I'm like Batman. Who? Never mind. There must be something I missed. What if the reasons Cap was worthy in the first place were the same reasons he didn't pick up the hammer in Age of Ultron? I decided to share my new theory with the woman. I hadn't managed to get rid of her, and I figured it must be good to bounce ideas off someone else. What are you saying? I'm saying that, at the party, Cap could have lifted the hammer, but he chose not to. What? Think about it. Why was Steve Rogers, later to become Captain America, chosen to become the first super soldier in the experiment that gave him his powers? Well, it all goes back to one of the first movies I saw, Captain America, the First Avenger. A good one? Steve tries to enlist in the army, but due to his poor health, was rejected several times. But he tried again and again, even lying on his enlistment forms because he's so desperate to fight for what he believes in. When Dr. Erskine, creator of the super soldier serum, saw that Steve lied on his forms, he asked him if he was so desperate to enlist because he wants to kill Nazis. But Steve says, I don't want to kill anyone. I don't like bullies. I don't care where they're from. The same qualities that made Steve be chosen for the super soldier program were the ones that made him worthy of Mjolnir, and the reason he didn't lift the hammer at the party. I think I get it. Since Steve is such a great guy, he didn't want to embarrass Thor by showing him that he's not the only one who can lift the hammer. That's why he pretended to not be able to wield it. But during Endgame, when Thor's life was on the line, he had to do what he could to save his friend. It also explains Thor's nervous laughter and concerned look during the party, and him saying, I knew it, when Steve first wields the hammer. This even serves as a way to solve another controversial scene involving Cap, stopping the Gauntlet in Infinity War. How could Captain America, who's basically a stronger regular person, stop the Gauntlet when much more powerful heroes like Iron Man and the Hulk were defeated by easily? The answer is simple. The Gauntlet responds to the will of its user, and at that moment when both Cap and Thanos were in contact with the glove, Cap's will to do good was greater than even that of Thanos. In summary, Cap's character across all the films in the MCU is what made him worthy to lift the hammer. It goes beyond his selflessness and readiness to sacrifice himself for others. Steve's bravery, humility, nobility, and just plain goodness throughout his entire character arc were not only what made him worthy of Mjolnir, but also what made him decide not to lift Mjolnir during the Age of Ultron.